Hi, welcome back to Through Nikki's Lens. I am Nikki and I'm here with another video for you today. I want to talk to you today about IRC processing times and the new and or updated processing time tool that they actually launched some time ago, a few weeks ago, actually in about October or so forth. I want to take you through why monitoring the processing time is important, do a little demonstration of using the tool, as well as to talk through some important details in relation to the tool and what it is basically and what it is not. Let's get into the video. So a bit of information on IRCC's website, and it tells you what processing times are. Processing times tells you how long you can expect it will take for IRCC to process your application under normal circumstances. The processing time starts the day they receive your application and it ends when they make a decision. If you apply by mail, the time starts when they receive your application in the office, that's in their mailroom rather. And if you apply online or in person, it starts when you submit your application. There are various factors that affect processing time. That's the type of application you submitted. If the application is complete, so submitting all the necessary documentation as well as completing the application form properly dictates if your application is complete and also dictates what your processing time is. How quickly they process applications they have already received and how easily they can verify the information, how long you as the applicant takes to respond to their requests or any concerns they might have highlighted, as well as other factors. So, one of the things that you need to understand is that processing times, when you get an indication of what a processing time could be, it helps you to manage your expectation. It helps you to plan in advance. Plan in advance meaning how soon you would need to submit an application. As I mentioned before, processing time depends on how many applications they have in the pool. So if you have an urgent situation, you need to submit your application in advance of whatever timeline or deadline you may have so as to prevent undue delays as well as ensure that your application is complete. So let us go into the demonstration of what the tool looks like, and we'll give some examples of various processing times. So what I like to do is to type in Google IRCC processing time, and then I'll click on the first option at the top here. And one of the things that you will notice on the screen, it says check our current processing times. Select your application type to get an idea of how long it will take us to process your application. Your application may take longer than the times shown here. They're not a maximum or a guarantee. So select the processing time. You have temporary residence, that's visiting, studying, working, economic immigration, family sponsorship, refugees, humanitarian, passport, citizenship, permanent residence card, replacing or amending documents or verifying status. I'm going to select economic immigration for the purpose of this video. And you have different options: Canadian Experience Class, Atlantic Immigration Program, Provincial Nominees, Skills Trade, that's federal, Skilled Workers federal. So I'm going to click on Canadian Experience Class. Have you already applied? I will say yes. When did you apply? I'm indicating April 2025. So what you want to note is that times before, maybe a few months back, it was 6 months to process a Canadian Experience Class application. Now it's about 7 months. So because I selected April 2025, this was updated in November. It's saying that I have 1 month left, and you should hear from us soon about your application. That is, if you did not already hear back from them. Even if you haven't heard from us recently, we're still processing your application. Our agents do not have more information about your application status or processing time than what's available. So they're saying their call center agents or their IRCC agents that talk to you when you call them, they do not have any more information than what your application status is showing. So the number of people ahead of you, about 3,700, that's in the express entry pool. The total number of people that are waiting for a decision, it's about 19,800. And you from here, you can check your application status. You can log into the tracker for the PR application. So let's do another one here. Which oh, economic class are you applying? I will say provincial nominees. Online via express entry, I will say no. Have you already applied? Yes. And I will leave this as April and I'll get processing time. So the provincial nomination program, these process within 16 months. A few months ago, it would have been like 23 or so months to process in general. So it's saying 10 months left based on the fact that I indicated April 2025 as my date of when I applied. Processing times may increase. The immigration level plan sets the number of newcomers that Canada plans to welcome each year. If there are more people applying than available spaces, processing time may increase. And I would assume because they have to be more selective, if they have more people applying than they have spots available for that year, they'll scrutinize their application a little bit more, so it will take longer to process. So about 62,700 people are ahead of you. There's a total of 96,000 people that are waiting for this category only. And again, you can check the processing time. Let us do one more. I will select citizenship and citizenship grant. This is if it is that you are a permanent resident applying to become a citizen. Have you applied already? I will say yes and indicate June as my date. So in total, right now, it's taking 13 months for them to process a citizenship grant application. The total number of people waiting, 290,700. Based on the fact that I indicated that I applied in June, there are 136,600 people ahead of me that I would have applied before June 2025 and are waiting. One thing you need to note is that there are some applications, at least I know, for the PNPs, that's in the economic immigration, the Canadian experience class, I think, for that one. But for sure, the citizenship application, those start processing, or you'll see the processing time that they quote, the 13 months, will actually start when you get your acknowledgement of receipt. That's your AOR. For example, you submitted your application in June 2025. You get an acknowledgement of receipt a few months after or a few weeks after, say in September of 2025. That 13 months starts to count from that point and not when you initially applied, which was in June. Because as I would have brought out in the video, that your processing time, it is an estimate and it is basically dependent on the completeness of your application. If they have to return your application for any reason, then obviously your application won't be processed within that time. You'll have to find out what is missing, the reason why they sent it back, address those issues and reapply and wait for them to acknowledge that your application is complete. They have everything they need, all the documents. They can verify the information you put in your application, and they will start the processing time at that point. What does the estimate mean? So the processing tool is essentially an estimate of how long IRCC will take to process your application. So as outlined on the website, it is not a guarantee that your application will be processed within that time frame that you see outlined. And one thing that you may understand, as I mentioned before, the volume of applications in the pool or in IRCC's inventory does make a difference as to how long it takes to process your application, the complexity of the individual case. So if it is that persons have criminal records, if you have a lot of travel history, you have resided in various countries, those things can determine your estimated processing time depending on the type of application that you submit. There are operational changes. So if there are emergency situations that come up, say for example, unrest in a particular country, they're using their humanitarian efforts, then they will prioritize those applications over regular applications. So those things impact external factors, so such as global events like the pandemic, when most applications were stalled in a sense, including like visitor applications when the borders were closed and they were not allowing persons to come into the country. So, for example, if it says that your application will take however number of weeks to process, these different factors may delay, and it does not necessarily mean that your application will be processed within that time frame. The processing times fluctuate again because of some of the factors that I outlined before. So changes in IRCC's policies, they might have a temporary policy that might delay or increase or decrease the processing time. The influx number of applications that they're receiving, backlogs, that is essential, application types. Some tips that I want to share with you when you are about to submit your application, just to manage your expectation a little bit, it is essential for you to check the processing time before you submit the application. So that might give you a sense of how long it may take and might help to alleviate some sort of anxiety. So if you know, for example, your application will take 12 months, it will take 8 months, 6 months, that will help you to understand how long you'll have to wait for your application to be processed. So when you have time sensitive or deadlines, time sensitive issues, time sensitive matters or deadlines, you need to give yourself more time in advance. Your work permit, for example, is expiring soon. You have a job offer. Your start date is close by. You have travel concerns. You need to take those factors into account as to when you will submit your application. Make sure your application is complete, make sure that it is accurate to avoid unnecessary delays and all of these things. If your application is incomplete, your application won't be processed. They will request additional documentation or clarification, and those things will slow down the processing. If you have missing documents, that will also slow down the processing of your application if they need to request more details from you, as I mentioned before. So you need to monitor IRCC's website to get periodical updates, and processing times can change as it can decrease, it can increase. So just make sure that you use that tool as an estimate, and as well as if you have any way of tracking or keeping track of the status of your application, you use that tool as well to monitor how your application is progressing. I want to thank you so much for sticking to the end of this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for liking the video, for sharing it with someone else. I want to encourage you to engage in the comment section. If it is that you comment on the video, it helps for with the algorithm to send the video and the channel and my other videos to other persons so that they can get clarifications on different areas of immigration, different things that I produce content on. I want to thank you so, so much for making it through Nikki's Lens, and I'll see you in my next video.